Long speeches. What's a long speech for you? There's only so many photos you can get of somebody talking. For me, I'm thinking of a wedding that I shot this year, and I love when a person giving a speech will stand next to the couple and not move an inch because that way I can put a tripod on the bride and groom and I can put a tripod on the speech giver and I'm good and I can use my gimbal to get other shots of guests, laughing or crying or anything else. I always have a camera focused on the bride and groom. It's not the issue. But some people are wanderers. And I had a long speech and a wanderer combined, and it was tough because I was just this with my gimbal the whole time. I think it ended up being like 13 minutes, which is long.
I've had speeches 35 minutes.
Don't know what I would do.
It baffles me. I did a whole YouTube video about this whole thing, and I'm going to link it down below. It is the thing that people just have. They think they have the freedom to just say whatever they want, do whatever they want, and they don't have the capacity to understand that it's best to stand. The best man stands on the groom's side, and then the maid of honor stands on the bride's side. That's traditionally how. And if you don't have. They tend to wander because of nerves. Yes. They wander because of nerves, and I get that.
Or like they want to direct their attention to other people in the crowd, which is this case.
But I've seen they really should be 5 minutes and under. 7 minutes top. They just need to condense it. I've had some best man speeches talk about where they went for their bachelor party and we can't mention that. We can't show you the pictures. And that's not what you mention you don't mention that at a wedding. You don't talk about girlfriends and past girlfriends and you don't talk about stuff like that at a wedding. And this guy was just going on 35 minutes long. Yikes. 35 minutes long, to the point where the DJ actually had to kind of like start turning the microphone down because it was just too, you don't slow the food down. You can't.
People are hungry. That's a good point.
And this is where alcohol gets involved. I tell my brides and grooms, I send them this video prior to the wedding. Hey, take a look at this. Just give your people that are doing speeches a good heads up that they can say as whatever they need to say within a 5 to 7 minute. So I had one wedding that did that. They had 6 speeches.
Oh, yeah.
5, 10, 15, 20, 25, still ended up being 30 minutes.
Yep, I know.
It should be best man, maid of honor, and if anything, a father of the bride thanking everybody to come. That should be your traditional toasts and thank yous. A lot of brides lately, I've noticed, have been doing thank you speeches.
I like that.
That is something I like.
That,
when you were talking about before, that's something that I like because I feel like that's genuine. That's very nice to have all these people that are coming.
I think it's a no-brainer.
It should be.
Everyone's there.
Some brides and grooms can't talk in front of people.
Yeah, you just got to say something quick. Whoever's the best one at it, you speak.
Yeah, and the other one's going to go like this because neither one of them want to do it. So then don't do it.
I know.
But I do like when the bride and groom actually get up and say thank you. It gives me a chance to get in there and get some nice pictures and some nice shots of them addressing.
It's classy.
I agree. I feel like it's a very classy thing to say.
Yeah.
What else you got?
Things I like. I only had 2 things I didn't like. I love wedding planners. Give me all the wedding planners. I have had really good experience with wedding planners this year.
I'm 50-50 on that. Only because I've had some bad experiences where they did not have my job in regards to their planning. Meaning, Ron, you're going to do this from here.
Right.
You're going to go over here because she wants to go over here. You're going to do this and you're going to go over here. The sun's setting over there.
Interesting. Yeah.
And they were like, no, we want you over here. And you have 45 minutes to do all of this, and then I'm coming to get you and come back inside. Wedding planners are good, but as long as they're not too rigid and they allow the creative to be creative.
Yes.
Don't put me in a pigeonhole and put me in front of a blank brick wall and saying, we only have 15 minutes to do this.
Here you go.
Exactly. And some wedding planners are like that because they're so rigid on the times, which I get. That's what they're paid for. I get it. Let the creatives be creative.
Yep.
Ask me, how much time do I need?
Yep.
Where do you feel like would be the best place to go in the venue prior to the wedding? Okay, Ron, you need 25 minutes. We're going to get you that 25 minutes and you go within this range of what you need to do. That would be a good wedding planner. So wedding planners are good.
Yes.
They keep things on track. If not, it's me as a photographer that keeps things on track. So I've had some doozies that just were too rigid.
Yeah, I think I guess my negative experiences with planners have been mostly venue coordinators. I don't really, there's been venue coordinators I don't even really see that day. Yeah. But a good wedding planner, I'm thinking of one specifically this year, she sent me her schedule. She was always asking me if I needed anything. She told me exactly when things were happening. She told me if anything was running late. She updated me on everything. In her document, she even had all of the names of all the vendors with their Instagram handles. I was like, girl, that is great. So good.
Rare.
So she was amazing.
Very rare.
Amazing.
Very rare.
It was incredible.
Yeah. Very rare.
I like a live band.
Rare.
It's exciting.
Very rare.
Because I think it's more expensive, understandably.
Much more expensive.
But I love a live
more
band.
Expensive. Yeah.
Oh my God, I've had 2 very different vibes of live bands this year. One of them was like a jazz band.
Nice.
And there were like 7 or 8 of them. There was a saxophone. There were like 3 or 4 singers. There was a guitarist and a piano player, and it was incredible.
Yeah.
One of the guys sounded exactly like Frank Sinatra.
Really?
I'm not joking. It was incredible. It's such an uplifting addition to the experience in the video. I like it.
The atmosphere is different when it comes to a live band and a DJ.
Yep.
And if you can afford, some people have both. The live band plays for a little while, and then the DJ
Cocktail
plays for a little
hour,
while, and things like that. I think that's another good added thing on there. But it is not, and as far as in Western Massachusetts, there's live bands, but you don't see them very often at the weddings. Why? I feel like it's just an expense.
I agree.
And I feel like it's a higher expense because now you're paying 9 guys as opposed to 1.
Right.
But some people that I feel like live band, it's just the atmosphere is different. Now, a good DJ can create that own atmosphere also. Lights and the music and the vibe and everything else like that. And they're talented in their own. So are bands. So both are good.
Both are good. I just really enjoyed a different experience with the band. It was so cool.
Yeah.
So cool. I do like a smaller wedding party. I think it's interesting.
Yeah. It's easier.
It's definitely easier. Like my wedding this weekend, I think there's 11 on each side. My
record is not 22 is my record.
Total?
Yeah.
So 11.
Yeah, 11.
I'm wondering how I'm even gonna.
Yeah. Challenging. Yeah. Super wide.
Wow.
Super wide.
Oh, my 24-7 will do the job.
You'll be back about 20 feet just to get them all in.
Yeah, that's okay.
It is very, I love large wedding parties because they're a lot more active and there's a lot more candid things happening when there's that many people. But it is very, very challenging having that many because there's always somebody.
Right.
Eyes closed, mouth open during the formal pictures, and you're taking the head and swapping it off of this one over here.
Oh, no.
So it's very challenging with that many people.
Yeah, it is.
So
it totally is.
4
pros and cons.
Yeah. 2 per side, 3 per side, 4 per side is the average. I've done some where there was no best man, maid of honor. I've done some with 1 best man, 1 maid of honor. And then I've done 11 on both sides. And it's just, it's a challenge.
I feel like my average is probably like 6 or 7.
Yeah, that's about average. That's about average for everybody.
Which is, I feel like it's still a lot.
It's still challenging because you've got 6 guys that normally don't want to shut up.
Right.
Or they're always talking or joking.
Right.
Which is fine. I'd rather that than anything else.
Yep.
But then if they've been drinking prior to that and they've got flasks sticking out of their pockets, it just adds to the challenge. I actually had one time had to go up to the bride and groom. I was like, listen, I'm doing the best that I can. I said, but somebody's going to have to wrangle him in because the more disruption he is, it distracts everybody else. And if he's talking louder than me, I'm not being heard and I can't direct if I'm not being heard.
Right.
Yeah, we noticed that, Ron. We're gonna dial it down. And then he did. I did one wedding where the formal pictures were being done and half of the guys were gone to the cocktail hour.
Jeez.
And I tell my brides and grooms, I said, once we're doing pictures, I said, they have to stay with us because if half you guys leave, they're not in your pictures. There's nothing I can do about that. The groom's like, I'll go get them. No, you can't go because you're going to get stuck out there seeing all of your guests.
Right.
You have to send somebody that's not part of the wedding party to go get them and bring them back.
Yeah, it's a pain in the butt when you're having to wrangle people.
Yeah. It's not your job.
I've actually seen a lot of wedding parties not drinking before the ceremony, which is a smart idea. You know, if you want to have like one or two,
that's usually a bride rule.
Loosen it up. Right. Yes, I've seen that too.
It's usually a bride rule.
Yep.
No drinking until afterwards.
I've got a bride rule that the groom has been instructed to drink before so that he's not so uptight and nervous.
I see that too. I see both of. I see the pros and cons to both. There's just, it can't be excessive.
No,
it can't be excessive.
Oh my gosh.
I had one groom, not even a groom, just a guy that asked the bride if he can say something in the microphone.
Oh boy.
And it was 15 minutes long of just rambling, and he was completely drunk, slurring everywhere. And you just don't give the microphone to somebody like that. Hey, thank you, but we're,
And who are you to, you can't really just
talk
to them and say, hey, stop.
Yeah.
You gotta just let it happen.
Yeah. And then as a DJ, you always have these people that want to do the mic drop, and that's a $900 microphone, and they're going like this, and bang, right on the ground. And they think they're funny. They'll do their toes, hey, congratulations.
Oh,
boom.
I haven't
and the
seen
DJs
that.
freak out when their microphone gets hit the ground.
No.
Yeah, that's happened once, not this year, but last year. 2 of them got dropped.
Wow.
Yeah.
I haven't
And the people
seen
think they're just being funny.
Right. But I feel like that's common sense. You must know that that's expensive.
Of course, but when you're trying to make a point, and when you just mic drop.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's always a couple things that happen.
Always.
That are interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what else you got over there?
Season.
I've got a couple of questions I'll ask you in a minute.
You fire away.
The editing process, and how do you handle unexpected changes with lighting, which you addressed once already, but this is the one that nobody can control, is weather.
Oh, yeah.
How do you, what I feel bad is when a bride and groom have this beautiful venue, booked it a year in advance, overlooking Pioneer Valley or the ocean or the lake or the view or whatever, and it rains and you can't even go outside underneath the tent. What is your process? How would you approach that? Okay.
I have to tell you a secret. All of my weddings that I have shot this year have been nice weather.
That's not a secret. We've had some good weather this year.
All of them.
All of them. We've had some really good weather this year.
Clear umbrellas. In the event
good point.
that it does rain. I did an engagement session where it was raining and icky, but it was photo. But for video purposes, I have not had to deal with that.
Okay.
But I've always had the same mentality that I have used for photo, and it's just you have to make inside options work. Put them by a window, still try to get as much natural light as possible. I have lights that I bring, constant lights. I usually don't whip them out until the reception. But I would take those out and kind of do some stuff with them inside to make sure I'm getting the shots that I need. And then if you want to break out the umbrellas and do some stuff outside, because the cool thing about video is I can shoot 60 or 120 frames per second and slow that one down, and it could actually look really cool with the rain. So I've thought about it, how I would handle it, but I have not had to use it.
Good for you. Yeah, we've had some good weather this year. I don't think I've had any rainouts. Last year I had one that was beautiful venue. Washout, right? Yeah, and just completely rain, and I put my flash behind the bride. It's one of the ones up on my website. Put the flash behind the bride, put them underneath an umbrella, and just shot my flash behind them and just lit up all the raindrops.
Yes.
And that's the picture that's hanging on their mantle.
Yeah, it's cool. So you can do really cool stuff.
But if you're not creative, and if it was a monsoon, what would you do? Your answer is you find someplace inside as a plan B, and gives the bride something to be able to have to remember the day. That's a really good thing too. So I already asked you about the trends that were happening. What advice would you give couples that reach out to you with a clean slate? We love your work, want to work with you. What advice would you give them right off the bat? So they're a year out from their wedding and they've already booked you. What 5 tips would you give a wedding couple? And not even nothing to do with any other vendor. No photo, no DJs. You know, hire this guy, get this guy.
Just to get a successful video.
Yeah. Just for you to get a successful video. What 5 tips could you give your bride and groom that just reached out to you?
That's a great question. I think the first thing I would say is just plan the day exactly how you want it to be. 1,
go. That's excellent. That's great advice right there.
2, I would say mentally prepare for like being on camera. So practice poses.
Good point.
Practice some sort of poses.
Good point.
Just so you're not, you know, doing it the first time that day.
Correct.
So like if you're going to do a dip at the end of the aisle, just practice it. So that you know.
That's a really good point.
A photo tip.
Practice a dip.
Yeah.
Some people don't know how to dip.
Right. And I've seen a couple dodgy ones, which is okay.
Let me interject
For a photo, you can capture a still frame and have it halfway good. For a video, I'm getting the whole failure, so practice.
I'm going to interject. So we got 2 from you right now. Let me interject this. Every time the bride and groom, they're in their last dance and they're doing their first dance and they're going around the dance floor doing everything they want to do, and all of a sudden they go in for that dip. And I always have the groom's back facing me.
I know.
Every single time. I don't know what it is.
I love when they do it multiple times because I'm always in the wrong spot.
My brides and grooms were doing it one time. We're doing it one time.
It's a lot to ask. I think it's harder than it looks.
Last week, I had a maid of honor do a special thing that they did at her wedding. So the maid of honor was with the bride, and she's like, I want to dip her because that's what we did at my wedding. I said, no problem. Yeah, it's cute. And she dipped and went all the way over and fell right to the ground. Right at the beginning of all of the formal pictures. So she had grass on her dress, dirt on the dress. So we had to wipe it all off so she fell down.
Yeah, gotta practice.
Okay, practice the dip. Practice the dip. That's my next Wedding Tip Wednesday. Practice the dip. There you go.
Yes. Actually, to go along with that,
yes.
Tip number 3, have something, you like to have a couple moves in your first dance maybe.
Yeah.
Like maybe just something different than the little swaying back and forth, which is totally fine. Like just spin her around a couple times or something, just to add to it a little bit.
That's good advice.
Yeah.
That's good, really good advice. You need to go get lessons.
Need to go crazy. Exactly.
Just practice in your living room, whatever your song is, and just do a dip. And then practice, a spin kind of thing like that.
Yeah, and then a lot of people aren't even doing full songs anymore for first dances. They're cutting it off.
They're cutting it off in 1 minute and 30 seconds.
Right, which is interesting.
There's a trend right there.
That's a trend.
That's a trend right there. People are doing their first dances, cutting the song in half. I had one father-daughter be done in 30 seconds.
Oh,
the DJ told me, he goes, you better be quick. And it wasn't anything bad. The dad just had a bad back or a bad knee. So I get that.
Okay.
So he told me, you're going to have to get all of your shots right in the beginning because it's only 30 seconds long, and then he needs to sit. So that's great advice, is practicing your dance prior to your wedding.
Yeah. The other thing is just communicate with your videographer. I feel like sometimes we get put in a bucket of they don't need to know everything that the photographer knows. I definitely would like to know as much detail as possible.
I disagree with that. I feel like you should know just as much as I know.
Yeah, so some people I feel like aren't oversharing, and then especially with the reception details, the time comes and I'm like, what's going on?
Yep.
So that's why I love having a planner, because I can ask them what's going on in case I'm missing anything, but just share as much detail as possible. Yep. I'm not trying to know every little thing, but the more that I know, the more that I can capture. So I think that's fair.
One document from them of their itinerary, whoever creates it for them, whether it's their wedding planner, I create the wedding itineraries for my brides. One document can be shared to your DJ, your video, your wedding planner, and your entire by email. Yep. So we all get the same thing. So all of us have the same plan. That's a good advice on a wedding planner to be able to, on a bridal couple.
Yeah.
Do a document, do a Google search, and do a Google document, and just put all your stuff inside of there, things that you need to know, anything that you need to know, and just update it, and then send it to your wedding party, your vendors. And now we all have the same document, so there's nobody like, okay, what's happening next? Well,
exactly.
So
I like to know.
Yeah.
Last tip
you should know. I feel like you need to know.
Yeah, and it's just because I don't want to miss anything.
No.
Because there are the obvious moments. You're going to have a kiss at the end of the ceremony. You're going to have a first dance.
That's obvious.
Likely. But if there's a special moment where you want to have a first dance with your mom and you're going to play a song in the middle of the, the dancing and you're going to dance with your mom and I go to take a bathroom break, like I'm not going to know.
Yeah.
So just, making sure you tell people that.
Yeah.
The other thing, the last tip I will give is